with someone that does not need an introduction for us, but I will for all of you. Hello, Agustin Ullmann. How are you today?
Hi, Lou. Very, very well. Thank you. Thank you for being. Now I'm the star of the
You're the
webinar.
star today, of course, of course. Well,
Oh
Agustin
my
is
God.
it's the operation managers and partner of the Polar Travel Company. He's been an adventurer, polar ranger, a guide, assistant expedition leader in Antarctica and the Arctic, and it's such a pleasure that you will tell us today about your last adventure, a trip to the North Pole. When were
Yeah.
you? This was a couple of months ago, right?
Yeah. About July, August,
Awesome.
approximately. September. I
Awesome.
can't remember now. It was a few months ago. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the
Very.
questions that I have in this conversation is when is the best time to go to the North Pole? But I would like to start from the beginning, which is where do you start a trip to the North
Well, I
Pole?
live in Buenos Aires.
Fair enough. So you have to fly
So
somewhere. Where is it? Straight to.
flights, yeah, flights to the northern hemisphere for sure. In our case, we started in Longyearbyen. Let me just pull up a map
Sure.
because I was very ready. Look at that. Ha. So here we have the northern hemisphere, and you can see Greenland here, of course, Iceland, Europe, and here there's this archipelago, which is called Spitsbergen. Spitsbergen, it's well known among Arctic explorers for its unique status, political status. It is under Norwegian sovereignty, but
Mm.
still there's a treaty and there's a lot to talk about it. But it's a place with very, very few people living in. There's just about one main town, which is Longyearbyen, where the airport is right there.
Hmm.
And then you do have other towns around Barentsburg, Ny-Ålesund, Pyramiden, most of them not very manned, some of them just touristic.
Hmm.
Ny-Ålesund, for example, it's up here. It's mostly scientific stations and facilities and scientific research going on. So when we started, we did started from here. We flew all the way from Oslo in
Hmm.
Norway to Longyearbyen, right here. From here, we boarded the ship to get all the way up to the edge of the screen because it doesn't go any further up, actually.
Right.
It's very funny.
Okay, so you flew from Oslo, from somewhere in Europe, straight to
Yes.
Svalbard into Longyearbyen. Great.
Yeah, that's the easy. It's the easiest and the closest route. There are a few trips that might go on the way back through the Greenlandic coast, for example, towards Iceland. Actually, once you are in the North Pole, you could go all the way to Alaska on the other side, but of course, it's a
Hmm.
very long route, and you keep going and going and going, and you could end anywhere. But we did a loop there and back to Longyearbyen. That's what we did.
Okay, and which vessel was waiting for you in Longyearbyen, and from now on, just start the journey?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, there was a question there. I couldn't get the question.
I don't know what was waiting for you, which vessel was
Oh,
waiting for you in Longyearbyen, and how did your journey start once you were in Svalbard?
absolutely. Just give me another second, and that's my cue for
Sure.
the presentation itself. Wait. Let me change the screen to the fancier one. There you go. So once we arrived in Longyearbyen, we went directly to the commandant's call, which is, of course, an icebreaker. There is no other way you can get to the North Pole, but with an icebreaker.
Hmm.
And there are many icebreakers in the world, that's for sure. There are just a few that can manage a trip to the North Pole.
Okay.
One of them is this one, the Le Commandant Charcot. It's a state-of-the-art ship with full of new technology. All of it is it's completely new, and it's the second most powerful icebreaker in the world. I mean, the one working today on trips to the North Pole. The
Okay.
other one is a nuclear icebreaker, a Russian nuclear icebreaker, and this um, this ship uses natural gas, believe it or
Okay.
not,
That was
and
my next question. Great. Right.
it's powerful enough to make its way all the way to the North Pole. It pushes 50,000 horsepower, which is a
Okay, so
lot.
that tells me a lot and nothing at the same time. Let's say a car. What's the horsepower of a regular car would be what?
Well, depends on your gun, but it's
I
about
know. let's let's make an average.
it's my car is 130, if
Okay,
you'd like, and it's
now it
just
gives us that.
average.
It's
Average.
that's incredible.
Just to give you an idea, the other icebreaker, the 50 Years of Victory, which is the nuclear icebreaker, can pushes 55,000,
Wow.
which is so. This is just one step below, and it can do. In some cases, I would say, I dare say, it can do a bit more,
Hmm.
because of the technology, because of how it was built and how it was thought to work. Here, I'm going to keep going with a few slides because we have a
Yes.
few and I would love to share them all. This is, of course, on the way there when we are looking for the ice.
Mhm.
Svalbard has one interesting feature, it is that it's west coastline. It's usually ice-free because of the warm currents coming from the south. So when you sail out, you have usually ice-free areas. But we went very, very fast looking for the ice edge. Because on the way to the North Pole, you need to make sure you have enough time to go there and be back, because you never
Right.
know what you're gonna get. There is a plan. There's always a plan, but wind currents, pressure. If the wind far away pushes the ice and makes a pressure ridge or whatever in the middle that you weren't counting on, it might
Hmm.
change your whole idea. Let me
Right.
show you a little bit of the ship inside. It's
Oh my God. I was
actually,
going to ask you, is this a luxury ship? There you
it
go.
is
It
it is
is.
very luxury ship. Yes, it's very luxurious, very very nice. Once you're there and you get used to it, because it takes a while. Every new ship, it takes you a while, as you very well
Mm-hmm.
know.
Yep.
And we felt very lost at first. It was unbelievable. I can't explain you. It was like, this is all wrong, because we are
And
used to
you
work
have
on.
experience, eh? You know your way on ships.
But we used to work on these Bonan chips, which is the operator,
Mhm.
and suddenly we found ourselves and we didn't know where the bow was and where the aft was. We were walking around and it was like, Jesus,
Which
it
which
has
way is the bow?
nine, it has 9 decks.
Wow.
Therefore the elevators, which let me tell you, are very fast. It's unbelievable. They really, yes, they work so smoothly that you don't really have to work or wait for an elevator. And this is a two different
Beautiful.
decks, deck 9 and deck 8 right there. And actually, I would use the stairs. It usually felt faster, but it wasn't an effort to use the stairs. Sometimes you're struggling, going up and down, and I had to do maybe 5 decks up and down, and
Mhm.
still didn't feel like something terrible. Of course, in the heat of the moment, it's very, very uh, active, and you're
Mhm.
excited, and
Mhm.
everything really works. And that's one of the lounges close to the theater. You can see a fire right here. Look at that. Of
Yep.
course, it's not a fire. It's water, steam, and LED lights and stuff. And you have a few of those around the ship. This is
Nice.
the observation deck on the upper deck, deck 9, forward, which is huge and so comfortable. And here's some cabins. These are the let's say regular cabins.
Hmm.
And then you have the suites, which are
That's
a
incredible.
small flat. I mean, they have a table for 8 and this living room and another fire, and there's a special sauna or jacuzzi and all of the fancy stuff that people well, I wouldn't mind, but I didn't got one of these rooms.
That's
Of
really
course, there's an educational program on board. We have a beautiful theater, an inside pool,
wow.
yeah, with a detox bar. Look at that. This bar right here on the left behind, that's a
Uh-huh.
detox bar. Every day they have juices and stuff. We
I
have
can't
a
order a beer there. They wouldn't give me a beer in
no,
that
no.
bar.
There are many other places where you can get a beer,
Okay.
not on that bar. And there were yoga lessons and aqua gym, and
Okay.
very
And
there was a very active place actually.
I know others are thinking the same thing I'm thinking. That still water in the pool. So did you take this photo when the ship was moving?
Can't remember when I took it, but of course you can
The
see
ship was
it's very very calm. Yeah, it
very
usually
calm.
doesn't move that much. Actually, once you're on the ice, it doesn't move almost at all. It just goes forward. It's like a train. It's the most weird feeling you can have. I felt like I was going on a train because you see instead of water around you, you see ice passing by.
And it doesn't move like the movement that you feel is like a train.
It's the ship is designed in a way that the vibrations would not actually be so disturbing to the guests on board. There are vibrations and there's a movement, but uh, it doesn't roll, and
Shake.
almost doesn't it doesn't yeah it doesn't um, go up and down. I can't find the word right now.
Me neither. So
Almost
no
at all.
worries. I think we're
Is
understanding from here
Yeah,
what a train.
it's incredibly stable. I think it's also we took the ship after 3 or 4 years that the operator was already using it, and they learned very well what was the best way to do it, and how the ship
Awesome.
behaved better. So they understood how to go through ridge lines and pressure lines. So the ship, because if you go through a ridge line of 6 meters of ice, it will
Mhm.
definitely go up first
Up.
and then to one side and break the ice. Because icebreakers, they break the ice by sheer weight. It's
Getting
the
on top of
ship
it. Right.
that goes on top of the ice. Yeah. The ship goes on top of the ice and breaks by weight. So if that ice is very, very hard, it takes a while, and the ship
Right.
lists to one side
Mhm.
or the other, and then it goes down. So they really got the hang of it very well.
Very.
That's part of the spa. Of course, there's a spa. It's a
Mhm.
luxury ship, and you have that. Look at that view. Imagine on the steam room with the ice on the other side. That's the view that I was talking about. It's like being on the
That's it.
mountain.
Like on the
Of
yeah,
course.
the Siberian Express.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I was going
That's
to
the
ask
word.
you
Yes,
what. How
Siberian
long
Express.
does it
Yeah.
take? Oh, sorry. How long does it take to start seeing that landscape? Like how many hours or days you have to?
That's a very good question. It took a while because, of course, when you are sailing, there you have a picture of the bridge that I won't be passing by very fast because I don't want to show you more than I should. That's me on the bridge,
I
looking
see.
through those ridiculously
Doing
big
surprise.
binoculars. Of course, something that big will never be very useful, if you ask me. And they weren't easy to use, so we've always preferred the normal binoculars. So it takes a few days until you get to see that kind of ice, because there's this very, very famous phrase from a polar explorer that says, in a very smart way, the best way through ice is around it. And no matter how strong your ship is, it is easier to just go around it instead of banging ice like crazy. It's like having to go from your home to downtown on rush hour. Sometimes instead of finding yourself stuck in traffic in the highway, you just go through smaller streets around. It might
Right.
take you a little longer, but it will take you there faster, or at least it will feel that way. And with ships and with icebreakers, no matter the icebreaker, that's the smartest thing to do. And here you can see a picture in the theater of the captain and the expedition leader. They were talking about the the ship itself, showing in this case the acidots. The propeller itself, it's like a zodiac. there's no rudder. The propeller itself moves on different directions to take the ship one way or the other.
Right.
And in this case, the propeller can work as a blender. The ship
Mm-hmm.
can break ice going forward with the bow or
Oh, we're
going
going back.
backwards with the
That's awesome.
propellers.
That's awesome.
And it's literally blending, it blends the ice and it creates a smoothie, if you'd like.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
ship, it takes a while until the system starts rolling, but after a few, it
Mhm.
just starts moving, and it's very, I think it can do up to 3 knots that way, and it's incredibly safe. So when the ship finds itself, it never has so far actually, in a system or a place in which going forward is just too tight. It just
Mhm.
can get the ship backwards and
And
move
go. That's
backwards.
awesome.
And they have a secondary bridge actually next to the aft. So the captain, the officers, everyone moves to this
Didn't know
other
that.
bridge, and they move the ship from there. It's fun. It's just fantastic.
That's so
Unbelievable.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
very cool.
So there we have a expedition leader and captain talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in a ship like this, we had to have a helicopter. Without a
Mm-hmm.
chopper, you wouldn't be on an icebreaker. In this case, in this ship, this chopper is not meant to be used with passengers, just for scouting and recognition and planning ahead for
Right.
the ship, not
Right.
meant for any kind of tourist
Makes
activities.
sense.
But it
Okay.
was pretty cool because it came out, as you can see, from that shell door on deck. So they just brought it up, and then in just a few minutes, I was amazed how fast they can prepare a helicopter. I mean, it just took a few minutes and it was ready to go.
Nice.
And that is the kind of view you have. It's
Yeah.
very flat, very wide, and very long. That's from the aft. Of course, you could see the ship,
That's the truck,
the
correct?
truck,
That's
yeah,
the.
right there. And in the guts of the ship, and don't tell anyone I'm showing you these pictures, you have tons of stuff. You can store some zodiacs, you have kayaks, there you have the dry suits because we did some kayaking in the Arctic. And this
Nice.
is the place where you start your expedition. This is the mud room.
The
There's
mud
not a
room.
lot
That's
of
very
mud
beautiful
around. It's
room.
very comfortable. It's unbelievably comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Those racks where you can see the boots here on the right, see
Mm-hmm.
that the boots are all in hanging there. Those are they are powered and they have air system. So once you're back, you put your boots there and they
They
dry
dry
for the
up.
next day. Beautiful. You'll
Sweet.
never get wet feet.
Sweet.
Not that you would ever,
Mm-hmm.
walking on ice, but still. And
Mm-hmm.
here, that's the route. This is the picture I was talking about the other day. You can see we went from Longyearbyen right
Okay.
here
Mm-hmm.
into Ny-Ålesund. We did a first stop right there just to get off the ship before we start our long way to the pole. So we
Mm-hmm.
did a day of landings and Zodiac cruises, and
Mm-hmm.
then went up north through around the sea ice edge. This was the sea ice edge, approximately, and
Mm-hmm.
eventually, once we were about up here, started to go up. And you can see that the track is not even; it's not a straight line because we were finding those weak zones, those polynyas that we could see on satellite, in order to try to ease the way as much as possible to make it in the end faster instead of just being stubborn and going in a straight line up because the ship could. The ship
Right.
could, but it might take you even longer in the end. So this was, and at this point, we could follow the track of previous trips on the ice. The other ship, the 50 Years of Victory, that was also coming and going. So we all went through the same sort of route in a way. Yeah, that is what it looks like once you are on deep ice. It's
That's
very,
incredible.
very impressive. Yeah.
Could you see any wildlife on your way?
Yes, of course. As you keep going forward and on higher latitude, you see less and less wildlife.
Yes.
But as in total for the whole trip, I think we saw 23 polar bears.
That
most
is
of
such
those
great
on the ice,
news.
and this is definitely a reason to take a ship like this. I mean,
Right.
polar bears, they love ice. And this was the trip I was with Brent, who we already talked to about polar bears.
Mm-hmm.
Not Brent,
Exactly.
sorry.
I bet
Oh
that
my God, he's gonna
he
kill
was
me.
very
He's gonna
happy.
kill me.
I bet he
Um,
was very happy to see all those polar bears.
yeah. Um, so it was quite experience. Quite experience. It was not Brent. Jesus, I'm blanking here, but no worries.
What, you're thinking about Morton?
Morton, that's
Ah,
it. Jesus.
Morton, yes,
But
of
we had
course. Yes,
another
yes,
polar bear expert whose name was
yes.
Brent a few years
I
ago, and
bet
that
in a
was
trip
my,
like this, you
yeah,
have to have more than one.
yeah.
I bet Morton was very happy to see all those bears.
Morton was amazed, and we saw so many different things. Here, from the bow, you can see the chopper there. A few people. The bow was open for guests, so
Mm-hmm.
it could constantly be out there almost
Mm-hmm.
all the time, depending on weather conditions and depending on the helicopter operation. But most of the time, it was open for us to enjoy at any moment. And this
Right.
ship has an amazing deck that goes all around the ship. Just below this deck,
Mm-hmm.
there is another deck that you can go and walk around the ship like a treadmill, a giant treadmill, if you'd like, with access to the bow itself. So whenever we had bears or anything that was interesting, you could go either on this deck or on the deck below, and you're right there on top of the animal, and it was amazing. Of course, very silent. We saw white bow instead of a rainbow. It's a white bow, another optical effect in the atmosphere. Very very cool. And here you see the ice, the ship doing its thing. Look at the thickness of those pieces of ice. Unbelievable. And
That's
our
awesome.
track
What is
behind
that
us.
like? Maybe I don't have the scale. I lose scale, but was it like a meter and a half thick?
Approximately, yes. We most of the time we were on a meter and a half ice. Yes,
Sweet.
yes, up to almost 2 meters at some point.
Amazing, Agus. And let's say which day would you say these photos were taking? Day number 5, day number 6 of the trip?
We did our first landing, ice landing in the day before we arrived to the pole. I think it was day number 4 maybe of the trip.
Okay.
Yeah, approximately.
Okay, it's not that much.
It
Builds
was very
excitement.
close to this, and here we were. There we go. We arrived to the pole, and it was
Incredible.
unbelievable because it's so subtle. It's so hard to get the position. Because as you can imagine, the 90 degrees north,
Mm-hmm.
it's on Earth. It's a box this big, 20 centimeters. That is the place where you are. That's the axis of Earth.
Right.
So the captain had to steer the ship and choose one of the antennas that was going to be the one that was at 90 degrees north, because
Right,
once
right,
you
right.
move it's impossible. So it was very, we will all have our GPSs and stuff, and you will get really really close until you start going away
Moving
again and
moving
closer.
away.
Yeah, it was almost impossible. So I have my watch and my GPS, and it was
Everything
almost
there.
all at the same time. And now I am with some of the stuff. It looks like Mike here is having a smoke, but he's actually cleaning his nose.
Blowing his nose.
I have two
That
Mikes here, Mike Bedell and Mike Stevens, harmonica player, good
and
friend.
Santa Claus. I can see Santa Claus on the
There's a Santa. There's always a Santa, of course.
back. Oh my
There's
gosh,
always
he's
a
a top
Santa.
right.
And let
What
me
is
let me tell you how I got
Halloween?
ready. Would you mind? That's a very weird picture, but just bear with me here. Bear with me. I'm just trying to show you how many layers of gear
You were
I
putting
was wearing,
on.
which weren't
Okay.
that many actually. So from the left to the right, that's the thermal underwear. You can see two pieces of underwear and a
Hmm.
jacket already on this
Hmm.
picture. Yeah. On
Hmm.
top of that, a onesie, like a kayak onesie,
Yeah,
like
that's
a
pretty cool.
huge pajama on top of everything.
Yeah, like on top of everything. Okay.
Yeah,
And
like a catsuit. almost.
Mhm.
And then to the last picture, already with my dry suit on, getting ready. Of course, by at this point, I'm sweating in the cabin pretty much a lot.
I
And
bet.
this is look at the cabin. This is what my cabin looked like. But it's not about the stuff. It's not about the mess, if you like. It's about the place, the room, the amount of room. Look at
The
those
space,
hangers.
no, it's
I have
amazing. I mean,
one,
it's a
two, three,
typical, no, 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 yeah, yeah. It's a
four
typical
hangers.
staff having with everything hanging because you
Yeah,
have to be ready for the next day,
you
but
have to
there's
be
a
ready.
lot of,
But look at, I had four hangers that were not in the way.
yeah.
Everything ready, drying out if needed, which was seldomly needed. And
Mm-hmm.
depending on what I was going to do, what I would wear, and there was plenty of room. I could move around, work with the
Mm-hmm.
computer, have my mate, everything was working. I was listening to a lecture, see on the TV. You could see on the
Uh-huh.
theater, they were
Right.
giving a lecture, so I could work and pay attention to the lecture too. It was incredibly comfortable,
It's very,
incredibly comfortable,
very
really,
cozy.
really, really good. Yeah. And that was me, all ready to go out
Oh,
on our first ice landing,
nice.
feeling extremely, extremely blessed. And here we were going. Our first ice landing, you can see that's the scout party with
Mm-hmm.
all of the probes to test the ice around the ship. So when the ship is on the ice, you have several protocols. So you first check that the ship is secure, correct, that the ice around the ship is safe. Then you set up a small perimeter around the gangway. Then you start scouting and looking for a bigger perimeter for everyone to be able to land. Of course, with bear guards, you can see all of them have guns,
Rifles. Mm-hmm.
rifles, yeah, just in case. Never used them, thank God. The team was getting ready to go out. That's me. And with
Have
already part of the
you,
perimeter ready, you can see the S, that X,
mm-hmm.
and there's a line there, so we wouldn't be able to uh, get closer to the ship at that point
Good.
and stuff. Everyone with this is a float coat, the orange one I have on, but
Mm-hmm.
guests would also land with their life jackets.
Okay.
And there we were, you start getting a good area around the ship, a secure area, and it gets very, very interesting very, very fast. And there you are, walking on the ice on the pole. Look at that.
That's incredible.
Holy moly.
That's incredible.
That's a beautiful picture of the ship, actually. Look at that. It's
That's
beautiful.
great.
It's really,
That's
it takes a
great.
while. Once you get used to the ship, you understand how amazing it is. How
I did.
amazing.
Did people
Spectacular.
behave?
Yes, 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 yes. People
Good.
behave very well there. No
And
one.
how many passengers did you have on board on this trip, Aus?
I had about 120.
Nice. That's a very beautiful number.
That's my GPS showing. You can see here, small here,
89.
89.894. Never got closer than that.
Circling the pole. You took a walk
Yeah,
around the world?
of course we did. There I am,
So
feeling
happy.
blessed. And always, if you're going to use your country's flag, look like a superhero. That's my motto.
Like Superman, definitely. Very
And
stylish.
these are all the typical pictures you take. You take your picture with a pole, you take the picture with a rope pulling from the
Dragging
ship,
this.
you do all of this kind of stuff. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, there you have the direction pole. So you have.
That is
I
something
have-
that you guys put there. The
yes,
scouting
of
part.
course. There's there's nothing there. Of course.
Absolutely. That's the questions I've had. There's absolutely nada in the North Pole, right?
Nah,
You
nah.
just have someone saying we are at the geographical
Yes,
North
there's
Pole, and
nothing. You can
that's it.
get your watch, get your phone, and check the position if you'd like. Nowadays, no one can lie. You're there.
You're
And of
there.
course, but you're there for maybe a few seconds because the ship and the ice drifts. So you
Exactly.
start in one place and you ended the operation a mile away, maybe from where you started. But everyone
And
extremely happy. Santa right there too. Look at that.
and then again, this was on day 6. You said sorry.
About 6, yes, about 6. Yeah, and we still had to go back. So
That's amazing.
you're on the clock. around the
Right.
clock, but enjoying every minute.
How much time
Fortunately, every time
you have on the ice?
we spend about 3 days, 3 complete days of activities in the ice, if I don't recall wrong,
I don't know.
three or
I
four.
mean the North Pole landing. How long can you be at the North Pole? Like
Well,
40 minutes,
the ship
45
stood there
minutes?
for 2 days. We stayed there. The ship stayed on the same positions for 2 days. So we did one day the landing, and the next day again we did different activities.
Oh, okay, cool.
So look at that. That's a great picture. You see the people out there.
Beautiful.
We have sunshine. It was unbelievable. We had so much. We were so blessed with the weather because it was
What
quite
about the
windy.
wind? I saw your
The wind,
Argentinian
there
flag going.
was very little wind. No, nothing to worry about or anything. See, for example, on the second day they deployed all of the emergency equipment, so you have something else to see or interest in
Mhm.
when you're out there. So they actually put one of the life rafts, and they on that red sledge that you can see right here, they have four of these stored inside. So in the
Mhm.
case worst case scenario, you have those on the ice, and
Right.
you use these rafts as shelter, and you have the dry suits and all sort of
All safety procedures and
yeah.
everything always ready.
We took out the snowshoes too, so another day
Nice.
a little snowshoeing around. It
Nice.
was very, 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 very funny, good fun. And here the brave ones that decided to take a polar plunge. Believe it or
They're
not, it was
That's
not. I was not in that
amazing.
group. I was not in that group. That's for sure. But I was
Awesome.
happy to take the pictures. So everything was ready. It took about
Ah,
2 hours to
the
set up the
stairs
whole
and
thing.
everything.
Yeah,
No, that's
and of
awesome.
course there is spirits and scotch and stuff there for people to drink, hot coffee, chocolate, and all that. But you get off the ship with your swimsuit and a bathrobe on top and your boots, and there you go. And the
Mhm.
life jacket, for example, for sure. And there
And
you
I
go.
was compared to Antarctica. How did the temperature felt?
I've been colder in Antarctica.
You've been colder in Antarctica.
I felt colder in Antarctica. Yes, I felt colder in Antarctica for sure. I mean, this is heat of the summer. We had great weather. We had great weather. We had no wind. There you can see the group that went kayaking, also finding a nice flow, and from there starting the kayak operation. That's when they came back to the ship, and that's all of us also parked by the ice, finding a different flow to do another outing. That's Morton there with a guest that couldn't really walk very well, so he just cruised her around, and she was happy to just see. Look at those pieces of ice,
Yeah,
unbelievable.
incredible. Everything looks amazing.
And there you go, the stars of the trip. One of
Yay!
our best buddies, the polar bears. We saw, as I said, I think about 23, and in all sorts of conditions. I mean, doing different things. They were all very, very healthy.
Hmm.
I've never been a bear that is not in good shape. I've been lucky. But we saw mother with calves 2 or 3 times. One of them actually nursed the calves right in front of us. She chose a piece of ice, got
Incredible.
comfortable there, and there took the two calves and lived them. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. We couldn't believe it. And then we saw bears on a kill too. The mother with two cubs too.
Nice.
And I took all of these pictures with my phone. So imagine how close we
No,
could be.
so close,
In
so
complete
easy.
silence, but very, very, very quiet, but very, very close. There you have perspective. Look at that.
Right there. That's amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah. These bears were curious. None of them. Oh, I had to. We had
Oh
a music
my
show with Mike Stevens, which is the
God!
best of the world. He's such a nice guy. You know, he's a gifted musician,
A complete
and he
guy,
made.
everybody. He
He,
drives zodiacs. He
it's not
dives.
about
He
me. This is about. It's about
sings.
Mike. It's not about me. I just put the picture there to show you how uh, everything changes. You know, from the snow, from the ice, you
Mhm.
on board activities, there's a little everything. It was good fun. It was good fun. Well, oh, that's the end of it. That was the last slide.
Yeah, that looks like an incredible experience. Really, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah, it was
And
great. It was truly
so
great.
there's something. That's your alarm. You have to
Yeah,
go get
that's
your
my
kids.
alarm. I have to go pick up the kids.
Okay,
We
I'm
do
gonna let you
have
go.
5 minutes.
Before you go, so the whole trip. So after being for 2 days at the North Pole, you went back to Longyearbyen, and the whole trip was what, like 10 days, 11 days?
No, it was about. I should check, but it's no. It was a good 2 weeks, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
because after the North Pole, we spent a few days in Svalbard. We went around
Right.
Svalbard for 3-4 days, so to complete a bit more of wildlife and scenery and stuff. So we're still looking for bears and still looking for more seals. And we saw a group of seals. I was unbelievable, unbelievable. Hundreds, thousands of seals,
Nice.
thousands. Harp
Nice.
seals. If I don't remember wrong, it was harp seals.
What an incredible
But,
experience,
and,
Agus. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. And we are going to put this conversation in our YouTube channel. The Polar Bears one is also there if you want to go take a peek. And thank you again, Agus. I have lots of questions. That's a good thing about these conversations is that it gets you more questions. So we'll probably have you
mhm,
again for more North
absolutely,
Pole.
yeah. I was worried. I was looking at the watch. I can't remember how many slides I had, and there is so much to talk about. I mean, I showed you the pictures of the kayaking, but I did not talk about it or the landings in Svalbard
Right.
or everything. So there's plenty to tell about it.
We're going to converse more about all of these activities. So thank you so much, and thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you, Lou, and see you soon.
See you
Very
next
soon.
conversation. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.